Greetings, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is Bishop Tony. Glad to have you part of our Listen Up. Today, I have some special friends. They've done an amazing job of raising their daughters, and I want to share with you today Raising Queens. So, hey, Pamm and Maliek Carthorn, one of our ministers here. In fact, he's oversees our marketplace ministry. Miss Pamm, she volunteers. She's part of our creative team and that writing team. I heard about that too. So glad to have you guys in with us today. And the reason I've asked you here is because I've had the blessed opportunity to get to know you. We've traveled to Israel together. We've traveled to Brazil together. We've been to South Africa together. And you guys have supported me locally when I'm preaching. You're always there. But I've had the opportunity to get to know your daughters. And I know you have one son and these three daughters. They're so amazing to me. So I want to jump right into this. So tell me where you guys are from, how long you've been married, and then we're going to get into the girls.
Sure. Wow. My wife Pamela and I have been together for 37 years, rocking up 38, I think, starting this year. So we met in Akron, Ohio, Midwest town, way back over east, and met at church, believe it or not. And she says we met twice, but I don't remember the first time. But when I did see her, God opened my eyes, and I saw this beautiful young lady, and asked her on a date. So from there, we went through counseling and got married. And the first 5 years we spent together, no children, just kind of got to know each other, did some traveling, those kind of things. We were a part of a great church, the House of the Lord. And our pastor, he's a bishop now, Pastor Joey Johnson, was the lead pastor. And our pastor who raised us is Pastor Dennis Butts, and he's passed on now to be with the Lord. But we got a good start. We were in a good church, had biblical teaching, and I think that impacted how we raised our children. We can talk about that a little bit later on, though.
Wow. Miss Pamm.
Yes, and I like what he said, that we were raised in the church. We were both young when we attended the church, and there was just some strong Christians there that kind of led us by our hands, and we took their hands and went with it. So
Awesome.
a lot of impact from those people. Yeah.
And so once you guys got married, and that's beautiful too, you took time to get to know one another, 5 years. And then I know about your son, you adopted a son, okay? And then the first daughter, Victoria.
Oriana.
All right, I'm sorry, right, Oriana, first daughter, okay.
Oriana,
okay.
and Victoria,
Okay.
and then Tatiana.
All right. Tell me, how was that, okay? What were some of the things you guys did? And where did you live, first of all? I know you said Akron, but what kind of, tell me about the upbringing. Let's start there.
We lived in a neighborhood that was beautiful in the wintertime when we saw the house, but then summer came and we realized we were in a place that we needed God, because it was a neighborhood that was a lot of different type of people, strange and wonderful people, and some of them not so good. I mean, there was drug houses, there was prostitution in our neighborhood, and those things were a surprise, but that's where we had to raise our kids. So we were there and we did what we could.
That's amazing in itself, because most of us, I didn't get to know you till a couple of years ago, and you guys are retired already. You moved out here to California and, living a life of Riley, if you would. And so to hear that that's where you came from, that's amazing in itself. And I'm sure that's going to encourage a lot of people also. So you have your son and your daughter, and primarily right now we're focusing on Oriana. So how was it for her, being your first daughter? Tell me about that.
Oh, Oriana was special. She was the compliant child. She, was very well behaved and did everything that we could ask her to do. Very smart, just like my granddaughter, her daughter, just picked up on everything very, very quickly. And that was Oriana. You could tell that she was going to be a mover, and she's very attentive on what everybody and everything was happening around her.
Wow.
Yeah, I got to say that we had a great support system. We had grandparents involved, Pam's mom and dad, my mom. That was important. And I know we've heard this term, it takes a village, to raise a child. But, there were great Sunday school teachers. Our kids had the privilege of going to private school. We talked about that before a little bit. But the people who were in their lives really cared about them, really supported them, and spoken to their lives. So besides, getting in love and caring from home and biblical teaching from home, they got it at school, they got it, at church, they got it, in the circle of friends that we try to surround ourselves with. We had other couples that we grew very close with. They had children about, the same age as our children. So we kind of had like about four or five different couples that got together on a Friday night for game night or whatever. But, it's really about how you live. And it's difficult to live one way and expect your children to come out a different way. You kind of get what you sow. You sow what, and we talked about that biblically. How are you going to put an apple seed in the ground and expect, avocados to come up? It's just not going to happen.
Right. Okay. All right. And then how many years later before number 2, Victoria?
Victoria is, what, a year?
2-year spread.
2 years?
2-year spread.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah,
Okay.
Victoria's 2 years after Oriana, and I called her my, Oriana was my quiet, and Victoria was the storm. She was a bit more active. She was all over the place, but her activity was she was just a curious child. Would take her to the nursery, and they would ask, well, what's the instructions for this child? And I said, well, she climbs. And when I got back to pick her up, she was all over the place. She was climbing, Yes. So that was Victoria. Very quiet, always smiling, always, but she was very active.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Okay. And then how many years later before Tatiana?
Tatiana was another
2
year.
more.
Was it 2?
Yeah, 2
See, he kept count, I did.
Okay.
Tatiana came along. She was our special child, I would say, only because she had some health issues. She was diagnosed with a condition called cystic hygroma, and it was a lymph node condition that the lymphs expanded, and she ended up having surgery on her jaw area and her tongue. Her tongue actually extended out of her mouth for a while. She had 7 surgeries before she was 6 years old.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
And then several others after that.
Okay, so you guys got this Christian community that you built your team, and that was wise right there. And now you got this major challenge. You got your youngest, youngest of 4 now, and she's challenged physically.
Yes.
And so I'm sure that was a challenge just across the board. What were some of the practical things you guys did to help you endure that and overcome that?
We were just holding on for life, Bishop. I mean, I wish I had some magic formula to tell you what we did.
Yeah.
We were just doing the best we could with what we had. And that's what, I say all the time to people. In the moment, you should be paying attention to other children. What about their education? Our daughter, who was 6 months old, is going into surgery at Children's Hospital in Akron, Ohio. And we spent, probably 10 days in the hospital afterwards. So Pamm kind of lived up there. I went back and forth. And then, a surgery after surgery after surgery. I don't know how the other kids survived, because when all your attention's on a sick child, you tend just to coast with the other children. But like I said, that network, kicked in. We had lots of people that brought us meals, that watched the kids for us. Our grandparents, their grandparents who stepped in and would babysit. So, all those things were certainly helpful as we focused on, the situation at hand. And the other kids were supportive and loving and caring. They didn't feel like, and maybe because we tried to show love before Tatiana got there, and had a family structure where we supported each other. It was never this, why can't you be like your sister? It was never this, one's better than the other or smarter than the other. It was that you're unique, and the Bible says you're wonderfully made. And I think our job is to let God be God, and then just love our children into helping them mature to what God has designed them to be.
Wow. Okay. So go ahead, Pamm.
One of the things that we left out is that my husband also started a business when the same month Oriana was born.
Okay.
Yes, he
Okay.
left a perfectly good job and started his business when I was pregnant. And Oriana was born October 30th, and he started his business October 15th.
Wow.
Yes.
With her blessing. Now,
Yes.
Yeah, I was
okay.
fine. Yeah.
By faith, huh? Okay.
Yeah, I came home one day and said, honey, I'm leaving my job and starting my own business. What do you think? And she said, really. And she kind of knew it was coming.
Yeah.
But we trusted God there too.
Yeah.
And if you're going to follow Christ, you got to follow him everywhere. You just can't follow him on Sunday. You just can't follow him when things are going well. You have to follow him in faith and stepping out. And this last series you talked about, upshift. It's easy to stay at a job that has benefits, that has a regular standard paycheck, and just stay in second gear.
Yeah.
It really is. I
Yeah.
mean, I could have did
Yeah.
that. But that was not how God designed me, and I knew he had something more for me and for my family. And it took us, I had the business for 28 years before I sold it and
Wow.
moved out here to California.
Okay.
But in that time, we struggled. We had our lights turned off. We got welfare. We got food stamps. It wasn't an easy journey, but we never lost faith.
And that's what makes your story so remarkable for me, because it is one of not only endurance but overcoming and persevering and getting the victory, literally. And what happened with me when I met you guys, I get to know you as a couple, okay, and that's wonderful and great. But your youngest, Tatiana, this is after you guys moved to California, of course. She was working for the Los Angeles Clippers organization, and they had this big fundraising event, Faith Night, I believe, at the Ontario Arena here. And, she came to me, and I got some other pastors, and we were rallying everybody together. And so working with her, and I don't recall exactly what it was that she said, but she said something one day or did something, and I said, wow, did you learn that in school or in college? She says, no, my daddy taught me. Mm-hmm. And that really blessed me, just made me smile. And another thing that happened, too, with her is that one day you and I were watching the NBA Finals. We were hanging out at your house, and the game was getting good. And she literally came in and sat right on the arm of the chair right with you and just kind of leaned back into you. And it didn't bother you. The game was intense. It's fourth quarter, and you didn't flinch. You turned and gave her attention. And I was like, wow, she feels that comfortable. How did this man create? Because I know you intend to do this. He gets after it, okay? I know him. But I saw you, but when it came to being a dad, there was this gentleness that you showed. And I sat there and I just marveled at that. And so here's this young lady out there in the business world, corporate arena, just handling her business. But then at the same time, she knows she can come home to her dad. And for you, Miss Pamm, while we were at the game one time, one of the games we were there, and she came by and said, hey, Mom, you see number 5 or number 8, number somebody? Mom, look, he's cute. And you're like, yeah, and you guys leaned in together. And that really blessed my socks off to see just how comfortable and how assured, but how much you had poured into her. And now hearing how much you guys had to overcome, to get her to this state. So hats off to you guys. And I've had similar experience with the other two also, because you guys know Oriana, she supports me, in Tony Dunn Ministries, and would, help me facilitate some classes and workshops and things. So, and she's a new mom and a wife and all that. I mean, she is high capacity, but let's go back to something too. Now, the team building, because I think that's crucial right there. For a lot of people, they're going to be hesitant. They don't know the importance of the church. And maybe it's just church is something they do. But for you guys, it sounds like that was a big part of your life.
Yes, one of the things that I remember specifically is taking my children to the nursery one day and realizing that this was more than me. And I looked at the nursery leader and I told her, anything you can tell me to help me out, don't hesitate. So we were open to bringing those people's suggestions and their words into our lives. And it really, I think they knew it, so no one was, if they saw us going into a direction we shouldn't have, they stepped up, they spoke. And that was support. That was support that we sought, and we continue to go after.
Now, I need to ask you this. How were you able to, as a mom, because see now, in my mind, I came up with a couple of people, of course, went through my mind. They would, if you offer a suggestion or some help, they're going to push back. How were you able to not take it as an offense or take it as that, well, what they think I don't know what I'm doing? Because your approach to it sounds really healthy, emotionally healthy. Mm-hmm. Tell me about that.
I knew that I was limited. I knew that I did not grow up around a lot of children. I was not what you would call a babysitter. I did it every once in a while, but I knew that the job of being a mom was totally different. And you can hear things from people and think to yourself, that's kind of weird. that's how I would handle the bad advice. The good advice is like, thank you, Jesus. Because I think I was always in prayer. Help me, help me, help me. And Maliek was an excellent partner. And the other big thing that I think I did was I realized black girls did not always have fathers around. Early in our marriage, we had an experience where we went to New York and to visit some families and friends, and the girls were asked, is he your father? Each one of them.
Yeah.
You know, one person said, is he your father? My daughter said yes. They asked the other, and is he your father too? Yes. And the other one, is he your dad too? So I knew that that was an unusual experience around us.
Yes.
You know, that was something that was around us. And I decided early that he was going to be the father. I did not have to be the father in our family, that we're going to be led by a good person that he was. And I allowed my girls to be daddied.
That's beautiful right there. Allowed them to be daddied. I like that. Okay. Tell me about the team aspect of it and just allowing others, because even for someone like yourself, and you can correct me on this one, but we're not always open. I mean, we're kind of like to do things on our own and control things. So
You're referring to my D personality,
Yes.
maybe, I don't know. But no, absolutely. Like I said, we had a good mentoring system at our church, and it was so valuable. My wife and I actually spent a year in mentoring after we were married with our pastor, Pastor Butts, and his wife in his home every Thursday night for 12 months, 52 weeks. We were in his house and watching him argue and solve and correct and communicate, and brought our problems, and we had arguments in front of him, and had cried tears and whatever we had to do. But it was valuable to get that mentoring, and then to develop a culture in our home of keeping Christ first, from the radio station to what we watched on TV, to attending services multiple times during the week, to how we talked to one another, how we loved one another. We didn't curse. There was no alcohol in our home. And that's just our choices. I'm not judging anybody.
Right.
What you do is what you do. But that made a difference, I think, for us. And so when you're talking about developing a culture, it includes people who have those same values that you aspire to have, that have those biblical values, those Christian values that you want to surround your children with.
And this is amazing because you did the right thing. Okay, so you build your team. But the other thing too that I think you guys did, because everybody knows that. I mean, that's common knowledge. I mean, it is. And they may not do it, but they're aware of it, the importance of having others speaking into your life. But the challenge becomes, like I said with you, Ms. Pamm, when you went to the nursery and when they offered corrections or suggestions, you were open. And even for yourself, not to try to do it all by yourself, And so you were willing to shift in your natural personalities to allow for the betterment of your kids. And so I heard that. But also too, you build a Christ-centered culture within your household, and so there's certain things you guys just wouldn't do, and so now we see the end result, and that's beautiful. Now, as the girls are getting older, okay, now tell me about this too, because now I'm sure that in the house is one thing. Once they got outside, there's a different world. So how did you guys manage that?
Well, they tried to get away from us and move to California. So we followed. I think that's, again, where the trust has to come from.
Okay.
As they move out, and at first,
But even if you go back
move.
before they moved out, what about like high school?
Yeah.
Junior high school, how was that for you guys?
Ooh, that was interesting.
Yeah, it was.
It was, yeah.
One of the things that we were talking about, and we had a talk with our 3 young ladies before this session, so they're going to be watching, of course, to see what we say about them.
Okay.
But no, we kind of reflected and said, well, what did mom and dad do right? What did we do wrong? How did we miss it? And we certainly weren't perfect parents. Yeah. But one thing they knew that they had support. And we tried to, my wife helped me with something that I got to share with you. Because growing up, I was always saying, I have to help you become independent. You got to be independent. You got to stand on your own 2 feet. You got to, we got to make sure that they can do that. And she said, you really don't want independent girls or independent children. You want interdependent children. And I started thinking about that and saying, well, what's the difference between independent and interdependent? And I came to realize that she was right. Interdependent children in that they can do things for themselves, but they still have a relationship with us. They still come to us today and call with a problem or with a challenge, or how would you do this, or I want to run this past you, or what do you think about career decisions, about raising children, about fixing their car. It doesn't matter what the topic is, but we have that interdependent relationship in that I don't try to run their lives. I don't try to make decisions for them. What I did do, even in high school, is I helped them with the consequences. And we talked about that before. Consequences we see as negative. We always say that word consequences, and that's a negative term in American vernacular. But for us in our family, we just said, if you can make a decision and live with the consequences, then that's your decision to make.
Okay.
And a decision could be, I'm going to study for this test, and the consequence is I get an A.
All right.
That could be a positive consequence, or finishing school, or going to college, or whatever those decisions that we all have to make in life. So I tried to help my young ladies and my son to think through decisions as a consequence situation.
Yeah.
And that really helped them.
That's a blessing right there because, well, before I get to that, tell me about the independence versus the interdependence. How did that come about? And even your desire to communicate that to Maliek?
I think just studying some of even Jewish cultures, even other cultures, they expand on their families instead of kind of booting them out when they're 18, as we do in America. I know that there's some families, and you'll hear it, oh, I'll be glad when you turn 18, so, get out of here. But a lot of other cultures really stay within that framework of family, and they just expand outward.
Okay.
And I really like that concept because it built upon what you had as a family.
There's a lot of intentionality is what I'm hearing with you guys. You're very intentional about their upbringing, their well-being. So tell me about college. How was that with you guys? Because all three have gone to school, and if you guys can expand on that and just share a little bit more about that.
Sure, and I think it was always the plan. Interestingly enough, I didn't have my degree when we got married. I got married when I was 22. We met when I was in college, and I dropped out and went to work, and just financial, concerns. And then you start working, it's hard to get back. And my daughter graduated high school the same year I graduated college. So it was pretty cool. We were in a race to see who could graduate first, because I said, I can't ask them to do anything that I haven't done.
Okay.
So it's very important for me, and Pamela already had her bachelor's degree, for me to get my bachelor's degree and make sure that they wanted to go on and do that. And only because college is not for everybody. I'm not saying that that's the best for every child growing up. My son, didn't do well in college. He actually does better with his hands and other things, and write. He's a writer and some other things that he does.
Okay.
So you have to really look at how God designed your child and really try to, encourage them to go in that direction.
Yes. Okay.
To get the tools that they need to be successful. So that's kind of what we did. We let our girls, we went on college tours, before, and in the senior year, we took, we were really good about the SAT exams, like in their junior year. In fact, 2 of our girls were in college in high school, because in Ohio, they had early college entry programs.
Wow.
Where while they were in high school, they could attend colleges. So really give them a good head start.
Okay.
And all of them really benefited, from that college prep kind of situation.
Got it.
So yeah, they've gone on. One is a lawyer. Victoria, of course, went on to get, her JD, and Oriana just finished her master's program and is back in school again. So
really?
And Tatiana's back in school as we're speaking right now too.
Wow. Okay.
So yeah, they're just lifelong learners, kind of like their parents.
Okay.
Who I'm always learning and going to training and getting a different license here or something there. So.
Okay. All right. So tell me about the move to California. How did that come about?
I was tired of cold. No.
Yes, he was.
We're from Ohio, so in Ohio the weather can fluctuate quite a bit. In fact, I think they said this crazy statistic: 300 days out of the year it's cloudy.
Wow.
In Cleveland, Ohio. Now I know you guys live in California, where it's probably the reverse.
Yeah.
300 days it's sunny.
Yeah.
But growing up in the Midwest and Northeast Ohio, we kind of got used to the gloom of not seeing the sun. And when it did come out in the summer, it was like wow, But it was only 2 months, 3 months of that.
Okay.
But the cold and just of course our girls relocating to California, we knew we were going to retire. I was going to sell the business. I already had a plan, a 5-year plan, a 3-year plan, because I'm a planner, of course. And we knew we were going to leave the cold and move. We were talking about Atlanta, talking about, Arizona, talking about California. When the girls landed here, we kind of followed them, and the rest is, of course, history.
Okay, all right. And so now that you've been here, because now it's a new season, because the girls are adults, and they're making, like you said earlier, career choices, trying to figure things out. We got to talk about Oriana, getting married with her and Aaron. How were you with that? And just especially once you got here, them trying to still, now they're really doing life, if you would. But let's go back to Oriana and her bringing home Aaron. Tell me about that.
She wasn't supposed to. As a matter of fact, I think one of the things that my husband did that I thought was really cool, he was active in telling them about dating, but he did not give them permission to date. As a matter of fact, he said, you can't date until you get married. So see how well that worked out. Oriana actually met Aaron in college, and they ended up getting married, which we were very happy about. Aaron is a wonderful, wonderful addition to our family. And yeah, that's how that worked out. And dating is something that's, it's a work in progress. I think our girls are learning. We had, just a whirlwind dating experience ourselves, and it's very difficult in this day and age to say, this might be best, that might be best. But my husband's really good at that. As far as getting here to California, Oriana and Aaron came here because of his job. He had an internship with a job and ended up taking the position, and they moved here, and they were here actually 5 years before we moved out. Victoria, looking for a college, found the college here in LA, right? Southwestern Law School, and it was everything that she wanted, so she was here. Okay. And with Tatiana, she couldn't stay in Ohio without her sisters. Okay. So she was looking at positions with some of the sports teams in the area. Got it. And so, like he said, about the same time, we started looking for where we were going to relocate to.
Okay. Now, let's talk about them getting married, and now you got a son-in-law, and now your daughter's moving into this new season. And I'm asking you these questions, as you guys know, that I have 3 sons. Right. So a lot of your experience is totally, I'm clueless on. But again, I'm amazed, and we have so many other people with daughters, and some a little older, and I'm sure they can benefit from a lot of what you're saying. So this season now where she's like, Mom, Dad, this is the guy I want to marry. How was that for you guys?
Yeah, and we always told our girls it's going to be your choice, who you pick, but just understand that you grew up in a Christian home, and if you're unequally yoked, and we didn't beat them over the head with the Bible, but they knew the Bible well enough to say, I know what unequally yoked means. I know if he's not a Christian, that he can't aspire to have the same values that I've been raised with. And that's going to be a problem in the long run. So we would say we don't care what color he is, we don't care how tall he is, look how much money he makes. But he got to know Jesus. He's got to know Jesus. Okay. And I think that's a standard for our girls. And it's difficult to find a good Christian man who loves the Lord, who really wants to follow him, that's willing to engage with
strong black women.
Yeah, I was trying to be nice, Bishop.
Yeah. Or what seems like
when you're talking to an attorney, who has a degree and making money, and then you want to go out and take her on a date, it's tough,
Yeah, it can be intimidating.
Yeah, and that's where our girls are, and they say it's just hard to date right now. And I'm not, soliciting anything, but I'm just saying it's a tough situation. And to say trust God, to say wait for what God has for you, we have to do that quite often. With them, just to encourage them. I'm not saying they're desperate or thirsty or anything like that, but I'm saying it's a tough road.
That is tough because their greatness is going to magnify anybody's deficiencies, and it's hard going back to even like I said with you when you approach the nursery, but you recognize, okay, these are deficits I have, and you can help me. You recognize even in your greatness, that I still need help, and for some people that is difficult. And one of the reasons I commend you guys is because your daughters are amazing, And Jack and I pray for them too, you know, and for their mates. You know, years ago I met a couple, and they told me they had 3 daughters too, and this was 2002, and they said, "Yeah, we're praying for our husbands, the husbands of our kids, and the kids were little, the girls were little." And I'm like, "You doing what?" She said, "Yeah, we prayed for them," and I'm like, "Jackie, we need to start praying for the wives of our sons."
Exactly.
Absolutely.
So that and even our boys knew that, and they knew that. So we're just going to continue to trust that the right people will come along. I love Aaron. You know, he's a sports guy like me, so we're always messing around about the sports, and you know, we're talking sports all the time. And beautiful home, and now you have a granddaughter. Okay, yeah.
Oh my.
Yeah. So now we're into another generation. So
Yes, we are.
and I want to come back to the other two in a moment, but tell me now that your daughter has a family, okay? What is your relationship like with Oriana now? Her and Aaron, and now they have Juliana here, and what's that like?
I think my relationship with Oriana, we have always been close. So she has not hesitated to ask for my advice. And there's some things I said, Oriana, I just don't know. We have to Google that.
Okay.
But I like that, you know, that we are more than, for me, more than mother, daughter. We're friends, you know, on that level. And I'm always praying that friendship, that closeness, whatever advice I can give her is a benefit to their relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I try to speak up when I see something, and she listens. You know, she does.
Well, I know she trusts you because where did they go? They left the baby with you guys? Didn't they go away?
It took her overnight. Yeah.
I
for
remember.
their
Yeah, one
honeymoon or
time. Yeah,
something,
we were talking. Like, we got the baby. Yeah, that's trust for the
Yes.
mom.
Absolutely.
Yes, it is.
But
Yes.
there's a thin line, you know, in allowing our adult children to make some mistakes that we may not, or choices that we may not have made,
Okay.
and say, you know, she's married, and those are her choices and her mistakes, and we have to allow them, you know, to have that. If they ask for advice, we'll give it, and well, I'm sure you walk that line too, to say, if you ask me, I'll tell you. If you don't, I'll probably not say anything. But just watching our granddaughter grow up and watching our daughter kind of do the same things that was the shows and the radio stations that they listen to. We listen to WCRF, which is a Moody broadcasting station. And she's found that station, and Juliana's watching some of the children's shows, Veggie Tales, and the Christian shows that she watched as a child. My granddaughter's watching.
Wow.
And some of the books and things that we read to them, they bought for my granddaughter. So it's just amazing to watch that generational shift happen, and those same values that they grew up with, they're now raising their children with.
Okay, that is amazing. That's a blessing. Now we have the other two also. They're still single. Okay,
Yes.
the next two youngest. And so, how is it for you guys now parenting them? Now they're adults. Okay, and I know they're living apart there in LA County. So how is that for you guys? You talk every day. Anything else? Anything practical you guys do?
I would say we answer the phone.
Okay.
They, especially Tatiana, she loves to talk, I think, and she will keep communication. That's her personality. She is a very loving child, and Victoria is also. She is fun, and we enjoy talking and laughing, and that's what we do. You know, I don't think I have any parameters or whatnot. We just kind of, if you're talking every day, you're sharing life experience, you know, what are you gonna do with our hair, you know, how, those things. And we just kind of keep it real on that level.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, I think one of the things that we established very early on is it has to be a safe place for them to communicate with their parents. And we allow them to debate. You know, they'd say, well, how come I can't go out with my friends? And we'd say, instead of saying, because I said so, it was because, you know, I'm not sure at this age you should be coming back home at 1 o'clock in the morning.
Okay.
Or I'm not sure that I trust who's driving tonight.
Okay.
You know, or I'm not sure that, you know, to go and see that movie is the best thing for you. And can you understand why so we'd have conversations around that.
Wow.
So even today, you know, we can have those kind of open conversations. And it's a safe place, it's not a judgmental place where you were thinking this or I made this mistake here. And it's like, okay, well, what do you have to do to clean it up? What do we have to do to repent? I mean, we got to move forward in life because we all fall, we all stumble. You know, none of us are perfect.
Yeah.
And if we try to live this perfect parent life in front of our kids, they know. They can see right through that.
Yeah.
So we got to give them permission not to be perfect too.
You guys said something earlier. It really blessed me. And so well, let me say this. So it sounds like you were a good role model, especially for Oriana, because if she's doing the same things to Juliana that you did to her, that really shows that. So in terms of just being a role model, what do you guys think about that? Mothers being role models.
Yes, I think mothers are going to be role models, whether they know it or not. I don't think it was something that I thought about constantly. I can't do this or I should do this in front of my girls. I was just being me, and thankfully, like we talked about earlier, that we were in a place where we were looking to others for help and looking at others as role models. We always kept Oriana talking to other people. Even like I talked about the woman in the nursery.
Yeah.
Well, Oriana had a relationship with the lady in the nursery. So she had a relationship with one of our pastors there, Pastor Trinket Taylor, Minister Trinket Taylor, who would do etiquette. She actually had a place of etiquette for the girls. Oriana loved doing that type of thing. So as we went back and forth with that, Oriana would teach me things. So I allowed her to teach me things and us. And I think that increased that connection.
Wow. Okay. Okay. Mothers being role models. Your thoughts?
Yeah, it's difficult, especially in the African American community. We know the statistics and the single family homes that are out there, and I feel for them. I mean, we had the opportunity. I came from a broken family. Pam's parents were married 39 years, 40 years.
59.
59.
59 total. I
Yeah,
know theirs
59
better
years.
than mine.
So, but my parents divorced when I was 15. So, and they weren't on good terms before that. So I was determined to have a family that stayed together and that really developed a loving atmosphere. You're right. It was a commitment, no matter what. And I said, "Till death us do part." I meant it. I was like, the only way you get rid of me, you got to kill me, because I ain't going nowhere.
Okay.
And I hear you say that too.
Yeah.
Once you make that decision, I think in the relationship, it's almost like you can take the weight off your shoulders and say, we might as well make it a good one, because I'm going to be here for the long run.
Okay.
So
Okay.
that's one of the decisions we made very, very early in our relationship to stay together. Then after that, everything else became easy. It's like, we're going to be here. We might as well make the best of it. And our children knew they had that kind of security. And I think that makes a difference.
Security. Wow.
That my parents are, and they were watching kids around them, and in broken homes and single family moms and all kind of things, and relationships not lasting. But I think it brought them just a sense of security that our parents are going to be there for us no matter what.
That's beautiful right there. Ms. Pam told me something before that you would do, especially with the business, you're trying to make it happen, getting out there, but she said when you would get to the front door, the business would stay outside and you would become Papa Bear. That's beautiful how you could turn that on and off. It really is. And so I do know of guys that are driven, and that's a very difficult thing to do. So what I'm hearing when I hear that is that you elevated the security and well-being of your family, going back to raising queens again. You really demonstrated that. And so tell me, just even as you reflect back on it, how was that for you? How did you do that? And what advice do you give some other brothers that might be struggling in that area, man?
No, just understand the importance of those little eyes looking up at you and really wanting to spend time with you, wanting to get to know you. And one of the cool things that we would do is when I got home, I would grab the kids, because Pam would have been exhausted. I mean, 4 kids, we just stopped because we ran out of hands. That's what we said. I got 2, you got 2. We got to stop. Okay. So we did. No, but trusting her with 4 kids, 10, 12 hours I was gone working. I would come home and grab the kids, put them in the van, and take them to what we call Night Park. Okay. And this is after it's dark. And we would go find a park, because our parks weren't fenced in or anything. Yeah. And we'd go play soccer in the dark.
Wow.
We'd go play tag behind trees in the park.
Okay.
And they would they would go pile in the van, run in the van, and we'd go out and get some, McDonald's $1 ice cream cones on the way home.
Okay.
Or apple pie or something, just to let them know that this is their special time, with Dad, that I love you. And we were broke. I mean, come on, we were hustling, trying to make it. So we did cheap things. You know, we went on hikes. And they were, you know, around us we had like 6 or 7 nature parks.
Okay.
And you know, the trail you can hike 3 miles, 1 mile, whatever. And you got little things on your staff, little badges. So we would take our kids on Saturday on the weekends and go hike the parks.
Okay.
You know, and carry them on my shoulders because they couldn't make it back. And
Okay.
you know, so all those things you have to do. You have to do with the best, you know, you can with what you have.
Okay.
But it doesn't always cost money. You
Yeah.
have to go to Disney World. You can just take them to a regular park or go
Okay.
fishing or, you know, we used to go camping.
Got it.
Pay $10 and drive in the park and throw a little tent up, and
Yeah.
we got pictures of that. So, like I said, we did the best we could with what we had, but it was love.
Okay.
And that's what's
Awesome.
important.
Awesome. Awesome. So I want to close with this, guys. What is the thing? Because normally somebody might ask you, well, what do you really regret? What do you wish you had done? I'm going the opposite way. What is something that you are so happy that you did? See, you know, I'm so glad we did this, or we implemented this, or what is that thing that just you're happy you instituted, implemented, executed? What is that? If one big thing you're so glad you did, might be a bunch, but give me one.
Yeah, for me, I can tell you the thing that really made a difference in our family, and that's me loving my wife. We really missed the importance of our relationship being tight, her and I being on one accord. And if we have issues that we resolve them quickly, we don't let that bleed over into the home, into the relationship, slamming doors and calling names and all those things that, you know, we know that aren't right, but we do.
Yeah.
So we made a real conscious effort to say, we're going to love each other. And I think that's the best thing we could have ever done. And even to this day, our kids, you know, still, when we kiss each other, they shy away. Oh, stop that. Yeah, but they know that we love each other.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. That one thing that you did that you were so proud and so happy you did.
Well, I think after what he said, I don't know, you know, I can't outdo that one.
You don't
But
have to.
I know I guess I have to reiterate that we stayed loyal to God. We did everything we could to be under and submissive to the authority of what he would have us to do in a family.
Yeah.
And I think that was, you know, even if it was, you have to figure that this is for me, for him, for them, and everything else that happened had to fall up under that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow.
So
That's beautiful. Well, I want you to know, first of all, I want to say thank you for taking the time to come in and do this with us and really appreciate it. I want you to know I really admire you. Think the world of you. And I know my wife and you guys have spent a lot of time together. You guys love your puzzles and all that. Hallelujah. I don't have the
Listen.
patience. But at the same token, I just appreciate your love for God, the way you support the ministry here, the way you support me and Jackie. Your love for each other. I've seen it. I've seen y'all flirting on the mission field. I've seen y'all. Okay. and it's a beautiful thing. It really is. Your zeal for God. And I know that so many people are going to benefit, you know, from you guys working through everything, from you guys persevering, from you guys enduring. So, and I look at your granddaughter, because, you know, the scripture says a good man and woman leaves an inheritance to their children's children. And so we can see what Oriana is pouring into little Juliana right now. And we can see the results. So Aaron is happy that you guys did what you did. The two husbands that's going to come for Victoria and Tatiana, they're going to be so happy. And then their children are going to be happy. Their Juliana's husband is going to be happy. See, this is the ripple effect. It's the ripple effect. Amen. So thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it. So family, thank you all for tuning in. This is such an amazing family. It's what I call an American story, often within an African-American community. Stories like these go unheard, but there are so many couples like the Carthorns that have persevered, that have overcome, that stand on the foundation of Jesus Christ. And I think families like them need to be celebrated. They really do. So I pray that this has been a blessing for you. Rewatch, go back, get some of those nuggets. And if you need to, reach out to them. They'll be more than happy to help you guys in any way they can. Jackie and I love you. We thank God for you. God bless all of you.